and will be taken from the perspective of the injustice done to Igbo people. Either this injustice is legitimate enough today to break the country, it's a different kettle of fish.
Sorry, Rajayi. If I'm taking it from this other side of the divide, I mean, from your perspective, we are all entitled to our opinions. The people who are agitating for Biafra are entitled to their opinions, so they shouldn't be stopped. But if I were to ask you this question, Barrister Ahmed Dada, if we looked at the presidential media chat, the president was very sad about the issue of Biafra. But he sounded like that is not really, it's not really enough to move me. I don't really see that as so much of a problem. We would together collectively handle Biafra. Now he has talked about what happened from the past. They've been agitating from the past. There's been several issues. But I want to dwell on the present. Okay, the present Biafra agitation has been, reinstated by Nnamdi Kanu on the basis that the Igbos have been marginalized. But the president came out on the media chat to say, how have they been marginalized? Is Ikachiku Igbe not an Igbo man? He started making mentions of different persons who are from the Igbo clan, who are members of his government. If they are saying they are being marginalized at present day 2016, what's your take? What's your stand on that?
This is my own.
Keeping things fall apart, like things that happened in the past. Let's dwell on the present.
This is my own interpretation as a stakeholder in this enterprise called as students of history. There's something fundamentally wrong with the graphical construction that we call. Foundationally, there's something absolutely wrong. I'll put my argument in analogy. Very sane cerebral members of this society have been calling for sovereign national conference to enable all the diverse tribes to look at themselves and say, look, this is how we are going to cohabit. And some segment of the society says, no, we don't want anything sovereign. It's a no-go area. You must be bounded together by force, whether you like it or not. I don't care about your feelings. This marriage must work at all costs. I step on your toes. You want to complain, it doesn't matter. We are married. We have to stay together. Doesn't work. You know, I said analogically, it is fathers that used to disown their children. But you know, the fear of the federal government or certain group of people is that, oh, when we go to a sovereign national conference, it's going to split Nigeria. That means some people will say, I don't want to belong to Nigeria any longer. Then if there's a problem in the family, and the children are the one agitating for a meeting to resolve the problem, and the father is saying, no, I'm scared that when we get to that meeting, my children are going to say they are no longer my children. That means there's something fundamentally wrong with the way the father has been treating those children. For you to be scared that your children are going to disown you. It's not just the Igbos alone. How did OPC come about? In the north, you have the Boko Haram. What are they saying? Everybody has an ideology.
Barrister Ahmed Dada, sorry to interrupt you. In every section, of the world, in every nation, there will always be divides. There will always be people who would be antagonistic of government, people who would antagonize politics and so on. If I were to look at it from this perspective, I mean, looking at Biafra, if at the end of the day, okay, we go for all of these sovereign meetings from these sovereign communities. Now we're already aware that the European Union is interested in the Biafra issue. Let's assume, supposedly, worst case scenario, there's Biafra. Are the Biafrans ready to have a society of their own, to have a nation of their own? Do they have everything it takes to sustain a nation? Because Nigeria has been on for like how many years? And we know what we've been through as a nation. Up until 2016, we're still not stable. We're still trying to find our feet and our balance. So if people are agitating for Biafra, away from personal gains and sentiments, that yes, I achieved this, what else do they?
Because like I said, once the foundation is faulty, there's no amount of engineering that you bring that will rectify the distorted structure. But there's something fundamentally wrong with the enterprise called Nigeria. And we must be honest enough to say it. The Niger Delta militants are there. The OPCs are there. The Biafrans are there. Look, nobody wants Nigeria divided. But the terms and conditions for the members should be clearly spelled out. I want to run. You are saying because you don't have the capacity to run, I should slow down. Sometimes, he rightly pointed out, the Igbos are very enterprising. You can't take it away from them. Somebody said if you go to any part of this world and you don't see an Igbo man, run away. Very enterprising, very energetic. An Igbo man will go to Balogun market, sell in the morning. In the evening, he will be at the motor park. Travel all the night to Onitsha market. Buy things throughout the whole of the night. The day. In the night bus, he's back to Lagos. The following morning, he's back back in his shop. What am I saying? There are these different ideologies. If the Yorubas have their ideology, if the Yorubas, the Igbos have, the Hausas have ideology. So until you bring everybody to a round table and say, look, let us define our terms of our engagement. Look, for example, a situation where somebody from the east or the west will score 240 in JAM and he applies to university. He's not admitted simply because he comes from an advantageous state or environment. And somebody else in the same country scores 140 and he gains admission to that. You cannot, look, it's not, there's something wrong. Everybody has been agitating those. Let's go back to federalism. What Igbos are basically asking for is, let me run my life the way I want to run. If I believe I can fly, don't tie me down. That is what is happening. This energy, the young men that are crying for Biafra and not the rest of it, is just unutilized and unchanneled energy. Because the environment is suffocating. Look, if you watch, what do you call it? Look at documentaries, watch CNN, see how young, able-bodied men that should be developing this nation, crossing the Atlantic, because the environment is suffocating and choking. When you over-centralize a system, that is what you have. The president of this country virtually touches is the most powerful president in the whole world. I say it, quote me. The most powerful president is the president of Nigeria. You talk about police, he's there. You talk of EFCC, you talk of immigration, talk of he's virtually every. If you see the parastatal that the federal government, the president has to approve appointment and not the rest of it, you want to wonder that this guy must be a magician. He must be a Superman.
Just a moment.
Taking from his clue, you come to see the foundational issues causing this agitation. But recently, the EU says that they will support Biafra's struggle for self-determination with a condition of no armed struggle. What do you think is the implications of this support to the unity of Nigeria?
The Biafra, the EU actually, I have the letter. That's why the letter
from the EU.
Let me read it out.
But that was what we have on the papers.
I thank you. That's Dr. Mr. Levy, writing on behalf of the UN, the EU Secretary. I thank you for your letter dated 22nd December in which you seek support from the European Union High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy for a petition on Biafra. Ms. Mogherini has instructed me to reply on her behalf. Second paragraph. The EU has a long-standing multifaceted relationship with Nigeria and engages in regular dialogue and cooperation with the government and civil society. We follow all political developments in the country very closely. Protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms remains a priority for the EU, and we encourage the authorities on every occasion to respect such rights.
Sorry, could you please?
In the last paragraph, it says, as far as questions of self-determination and changes to national borders are concerned, they are best regulated in accordance with established national law and relative customary practice. Yours sincerely, Peter Shada. Now, I don't believe maybe that is they're really endorsing. Maybe my English is poor, but let me agree with them. The foundation is very weak. But again, if Barrister Dada checks other countries, they have their fault every
as much as Nigeria.
As much as, look at Spain. Every time Barcelona is playing, you see people singing Catalonian anthem. To the extent that the UEFA got angry when they said they will punish. Everybody has issues in their respective countries. You understand what I'm saying? But the fact of the matter is that the Sovereign National Conference, it was genuine, I must admit, under military rule.
Samuel Ajayi, let me ask you this question. From everything you've read, I mean, you've talked about the fact that EU, Nigeria had long-standing economic ties, multifaceted bilateral ties and so on. But if he mentioned the fact that the foundation is wrong, at this point in time, what EU is saying, is this what we want EU to say, or is this what is favorable for us? If we were to profess solutions to this, fine, we do know nobody wants Nigeria to be splitted. America did profess that Nigeria would cease to be one nation in 2015. So many persons said that. But a lot of people, a lot of people are not in support that Nigeria should cease to be one nation. So if you were to profess solutions from the EU, what would you rather want to see from the EU? Would you want to see the EU put all of us on the same table, sit down, wine and dine together?
He actually ended it in his, towards the end of his contribution. The center is criminally, underline the word criminally, too big. Let me give you an instance. You know that we pay lip service to some of these fundamental issues affecting us. See, I won't mention it, they know themselves. At the time when they were in opposition, they were every day agitating for true federalism. Am I right? Yes. Now they are in power. Have they mentioned it again? No, because they are now in charge of their superintendent over our Commonwealth, which they were not in charge of that time. Like he rightly said, if the president of Nigeria wants to be making appointments, he'll be doing that in 2019 because he has about 5,000 appointments to make.
But what would you rather want to see from the EU?
What ordinarily, what EU should advise the Nigerian government to engage, not even Biafran agitators alone. Biafrans, those in the South, the OPC, they are a one consultative forum. Everybody has a different idea about how Nigeria should be run. Why all of us have agreed. Okay, there's one agreement among all of us. Okay, we agree. We don't want to break. But on what terms are we going to stay together?
Okay, you mean at this point we should bring into play the meeting they had during the last administration, bringing out
the political conference?
Yes, bringing out everybody. Do you think they should implement it now?
No, we can bring. See, the problem, like Father Matthew Azakuka said, the problem with Nigeria is we play politics with everything. Everything. If I want to walk from this place to that door, we want to play politics with you. The way you walk, you have to look at the political implication of the way you walk. When you look at the political implication. The point is that we want to play politics virtually everything. People will play politics.
And this is very sensitive.
And very, very sensitive. We have to go to that report. And people have been referring to that report.
But this government seems not to want to look into it.
For political reasons.
Okay.
Because anywhere, look at this.
But you, in your own view, do you think is the way forward? Looking at that report.
I've not even studied the report, but I know it made how do I put it, a very strong and fundamental ramifications about how the country should be run. And there's another report that Nigerians
and how we should
Steve Orosaye report about devolution of powers. You understand? A situation whereby, look at VAT, look at so many things that states don't have control over. You're a governor elected by maybe a state of about 5, 6, 7 million. You don't even have control. You can't even give instruction to the police commissioner in your state. If you're in a different political party with the president, if the president can use that police commissioner to undermine your government in very serious. And area you are, the president does not even know what is happening in certain local governments in your state. You know, you are probably from that local government. You know the nitty-gritty. You know why people were fighting that local government. Maybe it has been on for the past 60, 70 years over what they are fighting over common boundaries. But for political reasons, the president can give instruction to the police commissioner, do this. And when everybody said, I think the commissioner was acting on this police. That is number one. People were asking for state police 10 years ago. You know those who have asked. There was an interview recently. They now asked one of those agitators. They said, okay, do you still support state police in 2015? You know, he said the times have changed, the things, it's no longer. But ask me, between 2005 and 2015, what has changed? Things have only changed for the worse. Those are the fundamentals. Look at appointments, parastatals. You understand? Everything is centralized. Look at revenue sharing. How much did the states share? 36 states will share less than 40%. The federal government will share about 50%. 5% will go to ecological force. 1% will have 30% will go to this south, the oil producing area. In other words, if all the state is in trouble now because there's a drop in oil revenue, because there are so many things. If they discover gold, iron, bauxite, uranium, in this place, the states don't have control over it.
Sorry, Mr. Samuel Lecturer, you will come back to you. You're talking about diversification, but let me find out from Barrister Ahmed that looking at the entire Biafra scenario, I'm still going back to the presidential media track. I mean, several questions about Biafra was from the journalist to the president. think that the mode and manner we're going about Biafra from the Nigerian perspective, from the executive point of view, do you think about the right path? Is that something you would want to see done from Muhammadu Buhari's administration, particularly for the Biafra for the Biafra agitation?
You can't use military might to suppress an ideology, because it's not a physical object that you can shoot down. It's a thing of the mind. Bullets.
Meaning they have rights.
See, it's just like saying you are going to wipe out Islam or Christianity. There are people that will tell you that, look, in fact, they will be very happy to say, just spray me with bullets. Because that's my convictions, and I'm so damn committed to those convictions. You negotiate. You must sit down at the tabletop and say, look, how do we ensure that adhering to your ideology will not create problem for every other person?
Sorry, but if we negotiate, don't you think in the later part there might still be issues there, like she said it was generational.
Yes.
She said it was
Yes.
Much later, generations on board might still come up and bring up this answer ones. Okay,
because it's
See, let me tell you, if you read the theory of revolution, they always tell you that what is the recipe for revolution? You do not need any prophet to tell you. Very simple. When you constantly fail to meet the expectation, the honest expectation and demands of a set of people, you are brewing. You are actually accumulating the recipe for explosion. Very simple. If you must sit down and talk, that is what it's all about. Ultimately, even First World War, Second World War ended on the tabletop. You must keep talking. And let me just give you one scenario. One day, I read the story of a young man. He woke up in the morning, a 4-year-old boy. He said, "Mommy, it's an American family." He said, "Mommy, I want you not to forget the birthday of this." Wow, I just remember today's their birthday. Everybody dressed. Mommy, I want to tell you something. He said, "Don't keep quiet. I don't want us to be late for the birthday." Everybody walked into line. The boy said, "Mommy, I want to tell you something." He said, "Shut up. I remember today's their birthday." Whip everybody, and they were going. The father, after driving several miles, the father said, "This boy keeps saying he wants to say something. Just allow him to say what he wants to say." The mother said, "Okay, say what you want to say." And Mommy, I wanted to remind you that next week Saturday is the birthday of this family, and that we should not forget to buy them gifts. They've traveled several miles down the line. They now have to make a U-turn for not allowing somebody to just air his mind. They went on a journey, frivolous journey. We must come back to the table. The conference that Jonathan held, yeah. I have tremendous respect for his person. How many? What was the percentage of youths represented in that conference? The owners of the future that you are trying to plan. You are making a contract on behalf of people that you are not even carrying along. Did you listen to them to tell you their own expectation? Let me tell you this, the present elderly generation, they were fortunate to have been born when they were born. They went to universities free of charge. They went to, in UI in those days, they give them chicken. When they are out, it is because instead of chicken, they gave them fish. They had potters cleaning their rooms. They had dry cleaners free of charge, the wallet in cars. They were 8 in a class or 10 or 15 in a class.
And the final years with them, we had a room to themselves.
They had a room to themselves. Did you go to the present university?
Okay, but Sam, we're running out of time. Samuel Ajayi, just in conclusion, Nigeria is multifaceted. I mean, lots of different complexity in ethnicities, different ethnic cultures, most populous black nation in the world. So we're bound to have issues, we're bound to have problems. Definitely. The EU has come to intervene in this whole issue. Nnamdi Kanu is still arraigned in court. Nnamdi Kanu is still in court. What would you, if you were to, if you were to increase it, thank you very much. If you were to send the message out there to Nigerians on the platform, what would your message be? Because I think we have to get to this. So in the meantime, what's your message?
I don't want no leader. Even for emotional, no leader will say, that the country broke up. No, it's not something we're proud of when writing memoirs. But like you rightly said, we have to sit down and negotiate the terms of this marriage. It's not by force. Okay, fine, we want to stay together, but let us negotiate.
What is good for the geese is good for the
no, exactly. Like you rightly said, you can't stay because you can't run. I should not run. You can't do this, I can't. An average Igbo man is so creative. You understand? And in the north, either we like it or not, the state is everything. Everything. And their life revolves around the state. And that is how it is in most Islamic societies. There's no separation between the state and the religion. We must sit down and placate this. The government should, the president should forget about, okay, Ikeshuku, Ekashuku, Emefele, Igigi, all of that ministers. No. Forget that. We must come together, sit down, and address the issues being raised by this. Why are you even asking for a secession?
Okay, what's your...
And Barrister, that
we are where we are because of the military. Both things oil money.
so you mean diversification will put a force there?
Look, let's go federal, true federalism. Let regions be creative. If God has given you land, farm your land very well and turn your product to finished product.
Yar'Adua was able to come at the Niger Delta with dialogue. Do you think this government has something to learn from that?
Yes, they can. They can. They can pacify by calling them probably. They are also, government was able to also ask for Niger Delta asking for but the real solution to the problem of Nigeria, the leadership class should accept that, look, we need to be creative, allow people to go back to true federalism, and let every region act the best idea to generate run that, so that the federal government will just take care of our foreign affairs, take charge of our foreign affairs, yes.
Thank you very much, Samuel Ajayi. Thank you very much, Barrister Ahmed Dada. Thank you for coming. It's been a wholesome conversation here. It's been very emotional, very touching. We do hope to have a second revisit on this topic.
On this topic.
Yes, so many issues. But in the meantime, we'll take a short break when we return the rest of the program.